Channel. This is Mick Ruby. I'm going to talk about Dan Ashworth unlikely to join Manchester United. Also, Ineos is having talks with former CEO Manchester United. We're talking about David Gill. What is that all about? Top story number 3 is well, Ten Hag is desperate. January signings, we consider everything according to what he said in his latest quotes as well. With Roy Keane slamming Rasmus Hojlund yesterday. But what about Marcus Rashford? Seriously, Facundo Pellistri, we're going to move into the transfer market. PSV Eindhoven or LA Galaxy, what's going to be and our final top stories? We're going to talk about Kobbie and Mainoo delivers a man of the match performance against Wigan. Guys, this is our top stories for today. Stick around, smash a like, because here we go. Buckle up. It's showtime.
Welcome back to MUFC Realist TV and Beat the Press. Please stay tuned to find out these top stories with your host, Mick Ruby. Welcome to Beat the Press. Here we go.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, let's go. Welcome back to the channel, people. How you all doing? I'm sorry we didn't have a live show this morning. It was a crazy night last night. And of course, we're talking about the game, which we're going to talk about a little bit later in the show today. And apologize, hence when we inserted this extra podcast. We have a jam-packed show for you today. And our first story, what we're going to start with, is absolutely Dan Ashworth blow. We're talking about... Yeah, guys, Dan Ashworth, what everyone was talking about, of course, we're going to talk about this one. We're going to talk about Ashworth blow. This is going to cost him, and he's unlikely to take the job. It's going to cost 10 million quid, guys. 10 million quid. Can you imagine? Guys, this is a lot of things that we're going to talk about today, as per alluded before. But how are you all doing? Let us know in the comments section below who is watching. We have a lot of people tuning in. Jali Mamin is saying, isn't Gill a little bit too old to take the stressful role of being director of football? Also, we have been out of the game for 13 years, but that's the point. It's all about saving money. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later on, Jali. I mean, I heard that I heard Martial ain't leaving. Not sure what actually is going to fly. I'm not going to read out the FUK, but you can understand what we are deluding about. We're going to talk about Martial later on in the show as well, so stick around. Jonathan Lillenborg, hi to you as well. How you doing? Ratcliffe is taking a mobile loan or what? We're going to talk about that as well later on, so please come in with your comments, please. How you doing? Let's talk about it, bye. Let's talk about it cool and composed, because basically the story was coming in with an Ashford blow, and I'm going to share this story. We're going to discuss it a little bit as Sir Jim Ratcliffe waiting for his partial investment to be ratified with 25%. We've seen that Brailsford is there optimizing, watching, scrutinizing every single move, what the players are doing. And we've seen the links that we are linked to Ashford, we are linked to Paul Mitchell, we are linked to Jean-Claude Blanc. But there is an unlikely blow that he will come. He will cost the club £10 million to join. That is a lot of money. And then you can sort of add it on also what the CEO wants. This is a director of football, which is a TLO below. And then you're going to add on a next, I would say 15 million, up to 20 million for Jean-Claude Blanc. That has you up to 25 million euros already, or pounds. And then if you want to Paul Mitchell, that you can certainly add another 10. So we're talking about an estimation figure of 40, 45 million just to bring in those three people. And that is kind of a part of the FFP in there. Because if you look at FFP in general, guys, FFP, it's how you spend within your operation means. That means all the staff, all the players, everything is included in the FFP. So this is definitely going to take a churn on our transfer window budget. If you're going to have three people being part of the football operation, that's going to cost you about 45 million. That takes away from the transfer window, to be honest. It is previously relayed that Ineos is contemplating to see him as a top priority. However, it is more unlikely to see that he's willing to depart unless he doesn't get paid 10 million. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear your fan opinion. I want to hear from Mark as well. Mark, what are you saying? What are you thinking? Welcome to the stage, Mark. Welcome to the stage.
Big up, Mick. What are you saying? Mark. How everyone is doing today? Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the day. Thank you for joining us again.
Yes,
for us, as you know it is. I'll start with the Dan Ashworth, story. It's one of those things where it's reported that he's coming in. He's coming in. It's one of those things for me that's just like I wait to see it happen actually because I feel like it's just PR hype spin more. The Glazers are still here, so you have to expect this. They have the media circus with them, and they're going to continue to use it to the
Mm.
best of their abilities. At the same time, I look at it from the perspective where like if he comes in, he comes in. You know what I mean? So they could say what they want for now. Let's see what the proof is going to be in the pudding. I would like to see a John back come in because he's more of a football CEO type dude. So that would certainly help because he has experience in working
Yeah,
with football
yeah.
teams that want to win football games. So yeah, that sounds cool. The money is the problem.
The
Where's the
money is
money
the
coming
problem. Yeah,
from?
exactly.
Sir Jim has to. It's been reported that he's about to invest some of his own personal finances into the club.
Mm.
So let's see if that's what he's going to do, and this is going to fund all of these crazy PR spin stories we're hearing about this player, that player, this dream team of two sporting directors and a DOF. You know what I mean? So I'm just looking forward to seeing it actually happening before I start talking and getting giddy about anything like that.
Yeah, but at the same time, people don't talk about this very often. I think we're the first one to talk about it. Everyone is talking about the transfer money. I mean, this definitely, if you're going to appoint three directors, they're going to cost you money, right? And that is going to be part of the FFP as well, because FFP looks at the overall staff spending as well, what you're doing. So reports are coming out to say, according to Delaney from, I think it's the Independent, to say that it's unlikely, like, and he wants 10 million to come across. That's why they're kind of looking at another alternative. And the other alternative for me, like, and it was clear and obvious because there was an article that came out yesterday, if we go back into this, that's saying that Ineos approached Sir Alex Ferguson's CEO, and that is actually no other than David Gill. Now, David Gill was spotted yesterday. If you watched the Wigan game, David Gill was sitting next to what's his name, Dave Brailsford yesterday. Yeah, and people were saying also they spotted Jean Claude Blanc in there as well. So, is this an indication that they're going to they're speaking to him probably to convince him maybe to join? Maybe he's a cheaper alternative, because at the end of the day we're talking about finances. And if you know what David Gill did for Sir Alex Ferguson, he was the fixer. He was the one that got Sir Alex Ferguson all this transfer, whatever he wanted. So David Gill was just not a CEO; he was actually a director of football as well.
And he was one of the best, in my opinion. You know what I
It
mean?
was.
His scouting network. I mean, everyone talks about the scouting network of Man City and of various clubs, but Man United created what we call a scouting network. You know what I mean? They had the deepest reach, the longest arms. I mean, they scout players from my region, Trinidad and Tobago, like Dwight York, come into play. He was being scouted since he was at Liège in France. So it was one of those things. So it's like for me, the guy is experienced. I would trust experience,
Mm,
especially since the fact that he was at Manchester United and we were winning things. So I'm not saying that he's going to come in and suddenly make things better, but I'm saying he knows what our club stands for better than most.
mm,
And when he was there, he did a great job. So let's see what happens. Maybe he might be the cheaper alternative. Maybe he might be the better alternative because Alex Ferguson is still there. Let's just say, as the reports are, Ineos is trust in Ten Hag at least until the end of the season. Let's say Alex Ferguson has faith in him. Then maybe David Gill might have faith in Ten Hag as well. And this might
mm.
ease the process and make it easier for them to work together and get this team functioning again. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, we're gonna come. It's one of those things. Let's see what happens. I like the idea of him coming in some capacity because he knows what the club stands for from foundation. So
Yeah, yeah, true. Before we continue to stream, people, welcome for tuning in. We see you, we feel you. Please smash that like button. You know how it looks like. It's a thumbs up, and promote the YouTube algorithm and promote this channel as we go. Jolly, I mean, what you're saying, for what I understand, there is no movement on director of football, CEO, or head of recruitment until after Ratcliffe gets approved. Sir Jim Ratcliffe has said they will have beat no matter the
he,
cost.
he said he will get the best of the best, no
Yeah.
matter the cost.
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of, if I read an article, that is kind of the elite of the elite. Basically, if I read an article say this is what Ineos is all about, elite of the elite, with a vision how they would transfer Manchester United is always getting the best with that marginal percentage as what we speak as well. But the question is, what's everyone's lips? With what money? With what money? Have you heard anything? Because you heard something on the transfer rumor that he's going to inject extra money into the January transfer window, or is it just a smokescreen and illusion?
Well, as I've been saying just now, like it's been reported that the transfer market is of Manchester United is about to receive a heavy boost from Sir Jim as soon as he gets appointed, or let's say
Appointed.
ratified by the committee.
Yeah.
Then he's going to inject somewhere in the region of £100 million of his own money into the club, which
Yep.
will take the FFP margins to a positive loss of £150 million, meaning we could spend upwards of £300 million, right? And as long as that 100 million that he invests is in the accounts by the 1st of June, no, June 30th, 2024, midnight, we are under FFP rules and
We
regulations,
are,
and we are
definitely
still
we
free.
are.
So
Definitely we are.
left to be seen again, as I say, as Yali Mamin rightly stated, these things and lots of it will happen when he gets ratified. So
Yeah.
as
I
for
mean,
now,
it feels a little bit like this, they are just visitors at the moment. Like you see Brailsford in the stand and he's uncertain just because they put a bid in which hasn't been ratified. So but they really want to just give themselves a head start, like just in case. So they are already there from day one, overseeing everything. I mean, that is the role of Brailsford. Like he is that HR guy that you're dreading when you have a takeover. If your job is safe or not, having that interview, calling people in one on one to have a conversation. But at the end of the day, he's the smiling assassin because he's got this mindset, elite of the elite mindset. I don't mind that because at the end of the day, I'm not going to get giddy until everything is signed and approved. But at the end of the day, we got to criticize everything. Where is the money coming from? We spoke about this yesterday as well. Where are we going from the January window? Are we going to do any signings? I doubt it. Ten Hag has been coming out, by the way, to say, I'm desperate. Please help me out. Like, I take anything, like any loan. Anyone hopping on one leg or in a wheelchair or wherever can kick a ball, right? So that's to me like, where is that? Where is it all coming from? And what will happen if they don't get approved? That's the thing, right? We haven't heard much from that, like and Mark, I just argue to the point to say that if you were Ineos, you would be at least smart enough to come to say to give a little bit fillers what is your attention, right? Instead of just having PR ops going in to speak to the staff, potentially having some speeches. Now, big enough, nobody has come in for 18 years to speak to the internal staff to say we are here for the winning. But on the other hand, we are just looking at to optimize and save 90 million, like, by offloading a lot of players, which in my opinion, yes, it's good, but you don't offload Casemiro, you don't offload Varane. Why I'm saying that? Don't offload Varane or Casemiro because we need understudies to look up to these players. Like even if Casemiro has 2 years left on his contract, he's the last person you should ship off. So if you ship off Casemiro, you only have what Kobbie Mainoo to play by himself in that single role. And what about Amrabat? What is the future of Amrabat? Because we took him on a loan fee with an obligation to buy in the summer here. So there's a lot of question marks that I have in my mind. So what's your thoughts on that?
well, I'm from the school of thought where youngsters always need an obstacle in their path, something to surpass, something to work towards, like a standard set, a precedent that they need to meet before they are at the level that we could give them the pass that okay, you're become a man now, you're ready. You know what I mean? And when you look at Rafael Varane, you look at Casemiro, you see two players who have won it all and done it all
They won it all.
at
They're
the best
winners.
levels, at the
And that's why
highest
I'm saying
levels.
we need those winners to be part of the squad still.
Yeah, and you have youngsters. I mean, Man United is so fortunate this year. This class of 22 players coming
Yeah,
through. We have
true.
defenders coming through for the first time in what, 3 seasons. We have actual
Yeah,
defenders
Willie,
that we
Olamba.
consider quality for the first team. We have a vast wealth of midfielders coming through. Not only the ones that we're seeing right now, guys,
Bangor. Yeah.
but there's the ones that we haven't seen that are still in the academy that are being slowly trained with the first team in preparation for next season. And
Yeah.
this is what the manager is doing, and this is what the shift at the club is, the process. It's a long-term vision.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
this
yeah.
is So for me, if we're gonna move on players like Casemiro, who is leading the next generation, in my opinion,
Yeah.
Varane, who's leading the next generation, like Willy Kwambala, these
Really
guys need
cool.
to look up to those players.
But listen, is it fair to say that we are currently witnessing a generation shift? Is it fair to say? No,
Hundred percent.
we haven't seen that for a while. But the thing is, when you're having a generation shift, you still need to keep winners to sort of foster those. Like, it's not that Cristiano Ronaldo taught anything to Mason Greenwood, or those, but it's just such a leadership figure to have on the squid, on not on the squid, on the squad, on the pitch. But I just don't see this. I mean, yeah, I mean, we're seeing that we are loaning up, this youngster for development. But I would just say, like, hold your horses here. Now, this is your chance to, experiment, to play those young kids. Don't trust Scott McTominay. We saw the game yesterday, not to be trusted whatsoever. Rashford, not to be trusted whatsoever. Getting paid 300 quid a year, a week, and not to be trusted. Like, he can't even cross a ball. It's just a one crash test dummy going straight into the wall and trying to shoot instead of crossing the ball. And when you saw, like, the substitutions in 80, 85 minutes, when we saw these youngsters coming in, Willie Kwambala, we saw Pellistri coming in. Who else did we see coming in? There was a total different dynamics in the team, right? So it is hard to say, like, Ten Hag, you can see what's wrong and you can see what's working, because when you put those players in that are willing to run through the brick walls, they are the generation. I mean, why don't you give them a chance? Or don't you have a say in it, right, Mark?
Well, I was looking at it from that same perspective, Mick, and I'm thinking about it from the side where I look at it like, these youth players deserve a chance. I wouldn't be trusting players like Scott McTominay at all this season. But at the end of
Mm.
the day, you could see that the manager wanted them out of the club. At the same time, the club wasn't willing to let the players go.
Yeah, we're going to
So
talk about Pellistri later on as well, because this
yeah,
is part of the conversation. 100%.
you know
Stick
what I
around for that
mean?
one.
And then
Yeah.
you have so many young players coming through. You can't give them all a chance at one time, because then we're going to guarantee we're going to just pretty much write the season off. Now, people say the season is a write off already, but I
Mm,
keep saying to everyone, we were on 1 point more last season after 20 games played. So
mm,
it's 32 points last season at this same stage to 31 points this season at the same stage. The biggest issue is that we're up and down, but in our poor form, we're still 1 point shy of last season, which means we could still achieve the same 70 plus points that we did last season. Now it's
mm,
up to the players now who are finding, regardless if it's Wigan that we played yesterday, these players seem to be creating lots and lots of chances. And we have
mm.
seen that in the last, 5 games, even though we lost 4 and we only won 2,
Yeah.
right?
I
The
mean, the
basic
problem is
is,
there. Like, we had, if we're speaking about the game, which we're going to do later on as well, we had 33 chances created and only 2 converted. So everyone knows, if you're talking about, you don't need that 6 months evaluation if you're Brailsford or Ratcliffe. Like, if you're a Manchester United fan or understand football and you've been watching United, you know where the problem is. The problem is not the attack. The problem is that wingers don't cross the ball. No, we only have one player that can cross the ball, and that is pretty much Pellistri, or Garnacho crosses the ball as well. Rashford don't cross the ball; he just shoots, right? And then you have midfielders. We have no ballers. We have no creativity. Kobbie Mainoo, we're going to talk about him later on as well. But what a performance! But still young and developing, right? So at least you need some more in the midfield that can create for the striker. I mean, we're going to talk about Roy Keane as well, that slammed young Hojlund as well. On what merits? On what merits? Because Hojlund is not there to carry the whole team on his shoulders, And of course, he's frustrated because he doesn't get any opportunities. And that's the thing, right? So I don't know, guys. Let us know in the comment section what your thoughts and feelings are, and we want to hear from you. Jarvis Cocker, big up to you, my friend. Can you read these Jarvis Cocker's corners? Why did I say Jarvis Cocker's corner? Jarvis Cocker. I'm
bring
sorry.
up
I'm sorry.
Jarvis.
Yeah, what was Jarvis saying here? They
He
have
said they
decided.
have decided the writer of this season, Glazers would do shit except trimming the squad. Change won't start until the summer. Ten Hag is on his own, simple as.
Yeah,
And I agree with that. But you know what? I also don't think it's all that bad, to be fair, Jarvis, because at the same time, we've seen this manager. He was, in my opinion, sort of on his own last season, hung out to dry, really. with the fact that he wasn't able to
Yeah,
get his first choices. He didn't get the
yeah.
players he wanted early.
Can
And
you bring on? Can you bring back that comment again, please, to this stage, because this is a very good point. Um, yeah, unless you have finished your sentence, I just want to add on what Jarvis is writing here, because I can agree to disagree as well. Like, because
yeah,
there's
well,
two sides of the story, Mark. So continue your speech, and I can add on to that as well.
surely. I'm just gonna say that basically, in my opinion, I think this manager has the cojones, the tact, the will, and the ideology to play through this, to get this team through this period, even with the players that he has in squad right now. It's just my belief based on what I've seen last season. I think
Hmm.
the team has surely improved on the tactics and the change of philosophy this season so far, although the progression was slow and be it chaotic at the beginning. So I think maybe he can get through it. If we could humble or limp to fourth place, I'm taking it, because we are still 1.5 seasons into a rebuild, which I always thought was a long-term thing. And I thought the first 3 years would be the first assessment of if we're going to extend the
Yeah,
project with him.
yeah.
So
Big
we're
up for
halfway there.
you. Big up for you. Big up for people in the VR. And please don't forget to hit that like thumbs button up. It really, really appreciate. I keep reiterating every 10 minutes, so you can do that. If you can do that right now, there is about 40, 50 of you watching. Press that like button so we can get up to 100 at least. That is the target. Jarvis Cocker, I can reply to you because I feel the same way that you feel. Like, it is pretty much a write off, but it's not a guarantee write off, right? That is pretty much, they haven't not been ratified, but that is the sporting plan. This is the elite of the elite, what they want to do. Currently, Glazers are in charge until they get ratified. That means Joel Glazer is still there with John Murtough, 100%. And for them, it's all about cost savings at the moment. There's nothing to come into the market because FFP is there, my friend. But at the same time, we've been crying out for changes. We've been crying out to trim that squad, to get out of the deadwood. And maybe now is the time to do that, right? So perhaps you have to be ruthless at one point and you have to take a step back to say, well, maybe I can sacrifice to get rid of one of my favorite players like Casemiro or whatever. Everyone has a favorite player, but I would say, but look at Marcus Rashford. What has he performed? Like every second season, he signs a new contract, he doesn't deliver. Like, we need players with right mentality and people that will actually play for the badge, not just for the paycheck. So for me, that is a good sign, Jarvis. At least that we can create a wage bill cap like 200K maximum and the rest on performance bonuses. And then you can assess this squad like, are you willing to run for this badge, or are you just here to collect a paycheck? So I think it's a makeshift, and I see that is a generational, rebuild at the moment. And this is what we need to do. I mean, I was sleeping and thinking about it. I've been thinking about it, and I say, well, hang on a second. Haven't we complained for a long, long time that we need to get rid of all this dead wood, and they're getting older? So we definitely need to fill that squad in with what Mark was saying, the best talent that's coming through our academy at the moment. And what is the best way to do it? Well, I would say arguably what I say to you, Mark. Like, I wouldn't ship off Casemiro. Keep Casemiro there while Kobbie Mainoo is playing the understudy. Keep, Varane in there, can be the understudy for um um
Umbala.
Kwambala can be the understudy, right? But the rest is Luke Shaw. Like, he's just an injury prone player, like always injured. So it's time to ship him off. Dalot scored a beautiful goal yesterday, and you can see how he's developing. He's still young, by the way. Dalot is 22-year-old still, right?
Mhm.
It's a lot of development in Dalot as well, so I still have faith in him. But who knows from next year if half of this squad will be here? That's the big question mark. And that's why I'm saying, to finish off this, you know, if you look at Ashford, he only focused on the British-born talent, right? That's what Ashford trade is. If you look at Paul Mitchell is more the international flair, finding players from South America, from Ecuador, on the cheap, that has raw potential talent, right? That can play that vision style, what they actually, sporting director, what the Euro club wants to set for a sporting vision, right? What is the style of play? But right now, Ten Hag is limited, like in terms of the style of play, because he's been told you're not allowed to play your style, which is the Ajax style. Obviously, he said that in the interview. He's been forced to say you have to play these commodity players because we paid big money for them, and therefore I feel that he's limited in the style he has to play. So he has to play a certain way, right, to accommodate these players. So I'd say player power out, start new fresh page, build a new United squad, and there we go. Right? That is my honest opinion and my opinion alone, though.
Yeah, and like this, like Thomas is saying, you look at their actions and stop listening to their words.
True.
And like everyone knows that I'm not a huge Rashford fan, but it's not that I'm not a huge Rashford fan. I'm a huge Manchester United fan,
Me too. I'm a
and
team
and I
fan.
look at players on the squad in a different way. Like you've been playing for Manchester United how many seasons? Five,
Mm.
6, 7, 8. This is your ninth season, right? You're the most senior attacking player in the squad, and I don't believe Garnacho, Pellistri, Ahmad, any one of our young attackers could look up to you right now. And
No.
as a leader in this team, as the face of this footballing club, you need to do better. And someone needs to wake him up, and he needs to drink some double shot espresso like you do, Mick, because
Yeah.
apparently he's not coming out. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to knock the guy. I know everyone is a human being, and they're gonna have ups and downs, like Witherbird was saying last night. But at the same time, we expect more from these players. And Roy Keane was saying the same thing. You mentioned earlier that he slammed Hojlund, but he was slamming Rashford and saying that if
Yeah.
he was a player with Rashford, he would be frustrated with him, and he hopes that his teammates were extremely frustrated with him, and they let him know that they expect better from him because he's
Yeah.
supposed to be a leader in this team, the talisman of this team. He has a big number on his back to fill.
Mm.
So it's
Yeah,
one
I
of
mean,
those
just
things.
just finishing off, running up on that one, comparing Rasmus Hojlund and the youngsters' salary towards the elite players. Like we top earner is 100% Casemiro and Varane, followed by Rashford on 300k. But if you go down on the youngsters who are overperforming, they're surpassing Rashford in all capabilities, in all stats and figures. We're looking at young Garnacho. He's on 50k per week. 50k per week, right? And he's putting in more than Rashford would ever do, right? And that is what I'm
100%.
saying. Money destroys footballers, like. But if you keep him, like, you keep them mean to keep them keen. You know what I mean? And then you look at, let me see, Amad Diallo, 28,800k a week, right? You look at Facundo Pellistri. Guess how much Facundo Pellistri's on?
What, 12,000?
20,000k per week. Kobbie Mainoo, 10,000 a week. Kobbie Mainoo, 10,000k per week. Now you can understand that of course, if you look at the overall bloated squad, these youngsters are playing better football than the senior players. So the senior players need to look themselves in the mirror, and I think it's rightfully to have a conversation with you. Look at these guys. Here's the proof here. Look at what these guys are performing. They're a young academy. They're having higher output than you, and you are getting paid in this. Therefore, XYZ, we put a cap 200k maximum. I think so, right? Because Manchester United, according to my opinion, we are done to sign those Galacticos. Everyone on that pitch is individualist. Like Rashford is an individualist. He wants to finish by himself. He wants to be the hero. But that's not what Ten Hag wants. If you look at how Arsenal is playing, how everyone else is playing, they're playing fast, fluid, attacking football the way we used to do, right? But their style of football is they're playing for each other. They know each other's position. The way Berbatov used to know, like, where Rooney is and stuff like that. They just used to know exactly the movements. But if you saw the performance yesterday, there is like a bunch of misfits that don't understand each other because they don't gel. So it's basically them just coming out, knocking on the ball, and hopefully, like, the ball will go in. And that's
Yeah,
what people are saying. There's no style of play. Well, there's style of play that Ten Hag is probably giving the order, but these guys, they don't gel. They don't follow principles. They don't follow his rules and principles, the style of play, and that's it, right?
100%.
But at
100%.
least the
And
youngsters are giving something. Garnacho is attacking constantly. Being in the face, right? But Hojlund, he's not receiving the ball. He has to come and track back to receive the ball because the guy wants to prove himself. He wants to prove, like, why is he signing. He's a boyhood Manchester United fan. This is his dream, right? He's living his dream. He's living
100%.
his dream.
And I would just say this much, right? Guys would say, look, the setup is Eric Ten Hag's fault. The system causes these players to do these things. And again, I would say to everyone, when you say it like that, it's like you make these players seem like they're mindless robots, that they just follow a set programming. These guys have experienced professionals, right? And I'm pretty sure the reason why he favors Rashford is because he has that ability where he can get a goal out of nothing.
Mm.
But when he selects him on the team sheet, his objective, his main priority is to create assists for the striker. That's the
Yeah.
reason for a winger on the field. So I want everyone to understand when I criticize Marcus Rashford, it's not because I don't think he's incapable of creating for the striker. I
Yeah.
think he's not doing what he should be doing because he's
Exactly.
much better than he's
Is
playing for the last 17 games. And I'm
true.
criticizing because I know if he puts balls into the box and that young guy striker gets a goal, now the defense now focusing on the young striker, he can open up the game and get a goal for himself.
But I think that he's not happy with the manager anymore. He's not happy with the system because he's been told you're not allowed to do certain things. So he's not longer the unsung hero that he was last season, and that is frustrating. You can see on his body language. You can read body language. He's not happy, and we are not happy about this team. It's coming back to what you see. I iterate what you're saying. Like I love this club, right? But I'm not in love with this current team. That's the thing, right? It's a team of misfits to say that don't understand each other, and on top of that, when you have these high earners with this attitude, whatever, like I'm just going to rock up to training. I'm going to kick around the ball. I get paid anyway, like 350 a week, right? And that has to stop. That mentality has to stop, right? You don't see in
100%.
other clubs they are paying lesser wages because they are gelling. There's no jealousy, right? Look, we mentioned Kobbie Mainoo is getting paid 10K a week, right? Fair enough. He's just upcoming. But listen, he looks up and see Rashford, like, role model. Wow, he's getting paid 300K a week. And he's acting like this. So, Brailsford, if you're doing your assessment, please identify that solution as well. Like, that is part of the problem, right? And also look at Scott McTominay. Whatever you do, just get him out of here because he doesn't offer anything. Why are you playing him? I don't understand. Every time Scott McTominay is playing, it's like, and Rashford is playing together, it's like we're playing with 9 men. There's no tracking back. There's no creativity from the left wing. So it's basically, I don't know. The midfield is wide open. And luckily, when we played Wigan, you can do that. But if this was Spurs, we would be punished 3-4-0 if we played that
Probably,
way. Big up.
you know.
Ron
And
Josh is saying afternoon to you guys. Sorry, we are on the tandem here.
exactly. And it's like, in my honest opinion, Mick, I'm just saying, like, like Daniel Etienne is saying, stop paying undeserved wages to players. Like,
Hmm.
it's one of those things. We've gotten into this loophole that we need to get ourselves out of. And the first thing United fans need to
It's a
do
wormhole.
is be excited about the fact that we might not know who the starting 11 is next season. Like,
Yeah.
may have no Rashford, it may have no Bruno, but that should make you feel sad or worried. That should make you feel excited because you know what? For the last 7, 8 years, these players didn't take us to that level that we needed to be. Right?
Yeah.
Another manager, a 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th manager is not going to make that happen for these players.
Yeah. But
Sometimes it's just
any-
not there.
yeah, just to round up this thing, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you again for contributing. We can see you. We will get to your comments as well. But at the end of the day, I agree what you're saying. But I love this club, and I want this club to finish in top four. Like that's I'm competitive. I want to see good football. I want us to see us, getting as high up to the table as possible. I'm positive. I'm a realist at the same time to say I don't see this happening with the way they are sweeping the carpet under Ten Hag's feet, and then at the end of the summer, he's going to be accountable for not making it. So they're going to sack him. Maybe he's not right for the job. Maybe he is. Who knows? But the proof will be in the pudding. But in order to do so, you need to be backed 100%. And that leads us to the next story, guys. The story number 3, what we're going to talk about today. Ten Hag wants January signings, guys, and he's desperate. Ten Hag transfer market still an option under strength for Manchester United claims Ten Hag, guys. So he's basically did an interview to say that was after the Wigan game, like I'm desperate. I take anything at the moment. Give me loans, what's out there, please. It is begging. He's begging because he knows he ain't gonna get anything, and he knows that this squad is not good enough. Mark, imagine being a manager. You're managing a elite club like Manchester United. As I said yesterday, we should be dining at a 5-star Michelin, but currently, where are we dining? At the
KFC,
garbage tip.
XFC,
No, lower than
even
KFC,
KFC,
man.
XFC.
We're standing at the soup kitchen on the shelter home, begging for scraps and soup. Seriously, give me a piece of bread. Give me a piece of bread. Please, I beg you. I'm hungry. I'm
I,
hungry.
I would say this though. There are some reports coming in, and there are a lot of them. And the exciting thing for me is like, okay, is the type of players that the reports are coming about. You're hearing about a lot of South American talent that's coming in, young players between
Mm-hmm.
17 to 20 to 22. We lost out on Marcos Leonardo to Benfica, but guys, never fear, because there's this reports that young Oscar Zambrano is coming in
Zambrano, 5
shortly.
million.
The
That's cheap.
talks are
That's what we
happening
should do.
right now as
Yeah.
we speak, because they are trying to dissuade him from signing this contract already offered to him by Bournemouth. So this should happen by Wednesday. We should have confirmation about what's happening with him. There's also reports of young Gustavo Estabanez. I think.
Stubbornness, yes.
Yeah, his they call him the young Messinho. He's 17 years
Ah.
old. He's from Brazil, attacking
What was
midfielder,
his name you said?
creative. I think it's Estavo Jimena, Estavo something.
Uh, Estavo. I thought you said Estavo stubbornness.
No. Yeah, I did actually, but I made a mistake. It's Estavo. His name is Estavo, right? But they call
Estavo.
him Messinho. So
Messina. The
yeah,
little
he's very,
Messina.
very talented. He capped for Brazil at the Under-17 World Cup. He had 3 goals and 3 assists. He's playing first team football. Also at Palmeiras, he's being looked at by a lot of different
Oh
teams.
yeah, I
But
love that.
so it's like one of those things. Then you have reports where Manchester United have deposited 44 million euros for Scalvini, Giorgio Scalvini from Atalanta, the young centre
Is that
back, 19
true or is
years
it
old.
BS?
Well, no one
Deposit.
knows, because what we do know is that the latest report as of today is Atalanta says to Manchester United that we want more, and somewhere in the region of 60 million euros is what they're
Yeah, but
aiming for.
everything is dependent on one person and one person alone, and then is Antony Martial, right? We did
100%.
a story about this yesterday. We covered this. There was stories floating around over the week that Fenerbahce has kind of submitted an 8 million bid, but they're being cheeky now. Like they know that we are desperate. Even Borussia Dortmund is taking a piss about Jadon Sancho because they know we are desperate and we can't do business whatsoever. We're talking about the clown show of John Murtough. Can't even sell nothing, right? Seriously, get this guy out of here because they're taking the
100%.
piss.
I think anything is going to be better than John Mercer, to be fair, because as we know, as we speak, there's an issue from a confirmed agreement to now an issue where it seems that Manchester United now might be forced to paying 60% of Jadon Sancho's wages in order for him to finally leave to Dortmund.
They are so desperate to get rid of him, and this is the upper hand of Dortmund. They're playing a smart game here, right? It's a game of poker. 100%. They know that we are shit and doing and selling. They know they can fool us again. I mean, there was a report saying that the Glazers were pissed off because they were so desperate to get rid of him, so they were willing to accept 2 million and plus what you're saying there. If that is true, that we have to pay 60 million just to get rid of him. Oh my god! Seriously,
60% of his wages this season
just
instead of
rip off
paying
his. I don't know, just
40%.
rip off his bloody contract and ship him off to Timbuktu, to be honest. Because Ten Hag was saying we consider everything at the market. That was the quote he said when he was asked about the January window. So, what in the best interest of the players and also the best interest of us? So, he's looking at the best character available for his squad mentality in the first place. So, we will see how it progresses in the window. That's what he said, right?
Yeah, and as
But
a
that means,
fan,
hmm?
so as a fan favorites, well, Tadibo, they said we have a clear run in for Tadibo right now, as talks has successfully fallen through between him and the Spurs camp. So there are no more talks ongoing at this moment. So they said that, currently we have a clear run at Tadibo, which, I've been saying that this report is slightly a little bit much for me because, as I know, I spoke about Willie Kwambala. I think they're exact similar profile. They're same
Similar
height, same
profile, yeah.
build. He's 2 years younger, same quality on the ball. It's just we're
Mm.
talking about 2 years more experience. Willie Kwambala could be trusted to gain that under the likes of Varane, and with Johnny Evans having an extended year on his contract, that's more experience he's going to learn from. I was just thinking from the perspective that we have been seriously scouting Goncalo Ignacio of
Yeah,
Sporting Lisbon, left-sided centre back, 21 years old. He's very good on the ball, very good. He's the best in Europe for progressive passing from the back
yeah,
right now this season. And then
right.
there's a few other things. So yeah,
Yeah, but the thing is, like, if we move on from that, again, like, Ten Hag is admitting in this, cry for help. It's frustrating because he's losing so many players on injuries, but now he's also losing a players out on loan or being sold. So he says, I don't want to be frustrated because I can't do nothing about it. So that is pretty much the same thing. It's not on me, right? I have nothing to do with it. I can do nothing about it. So he's being basically, I don't know, how can we say it in a nice word? He's been fucked.
in a way, he's
Definitely.
been left out to dry. You know what I mean? They did it to him last season.
Mm.
It's not like he didn't know that this was coming. He saw it last year. You know what I mean? The January transfer window, we were in third place. We could have,
Yeah,
if we had gotten a striker, maybe we could have done something in the league
yeah.
last season. The
So the
fan base
only
was
thing,
hyped. We got what was.
the only thing that he can hope for, and this is what he hoped for. I think there'll be some players coming back from injuries, so they can be available for the weekend.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
think
basically what we said last week: sink or swim, play with what you got.
100%.
And I don't see him getting back whatsoever. And coming back to knit up the story as well, because how on earth are you going to spend 45 million on three senior directors to come in? That's going to take away from the transfer budget. So
100%.
their priority is more to put the structure in rather than purchase players. I call it for what it is right now because the stories are out there. I'm just putting two and two together. We want Jean Paul Blanc. We want Ashford that doesn't want to move for more than less than 10 million. We want to recruit in Paul Mitchell, and then we're speaking to David Gill, which is probably going to be a cheap alternative 4-5 that has the experience, that's going to get the fans happy, that understands the Manchester DNA. In this case, I don't know if I would take David Gill back 100% based on what he hasn't worked for 13, 14 years in the industry. Is he up to date? I don't know, but it's yet to be seen. But then again, you have to compromise what Jarvis was saying. Are we willing to sacrifice the season just to trim that squad? Are we willing to say, fuck top four and just close off the season and focus on rebuilding and doing it right? Right?
Well, I mean, we started a rebuild this same time last year, around before this time last year, right? Where we was like, listen, we're getting this new manager. He's going to play a brand new style of football. We're going to have to go through a change in the club, change in players, change in the team. It's going to have a whole shift of ethos and stuff like that. Ralph Ragnick came out and said we needed to get 10 players in, 10 players out,
Yeah,
and he was not talking about reserves, he was talking about first teamers. So
yeah,
if all the fans backed Ralph Ragnick and was like, "Yeah, Ralph, you are correct. You say
no,
you are the savior,"
definitely.
then we should have all been strapped in, knowing that this was going to happen.
No, he
We,
told the
we
truth. He
yeah,
told the
he
truth.
told the truth, and we could see some of those players are still here doing the same things. And
Yeah.
then you hear fans coming and saying the
And
same
speaking about
thing.
those players, Mark, speaking about those players, Ten Hag continued in this quote to say he's expected Ericsson to return in time for the Spurs match. Same with Luke Shaw and Harry Maguire could also be available. So he's relying on those deadwood that needs to be out of the club. I mean, I'm saying that Ericsson, we got him on the free. Thank God we got him on the free. But there's an aging squad. Luke Shaw, always injured, hamstrings. Harry Maguire want to sell him in the summer. I say cash in. There was some rumors to say that Scott McTominay in the swap of Onana, we're talking about Arsenal's Onana makeshift, but Onana is also linked to Arsenal, so I don't see that happening. But this was something we should have been done in the summer, but that was blocked by Joel Glazer by the latest report that I was reading, right? Joe Glazer also blocked the sell of Antony Martial because of the assets, because they were still wanted to retain the valuation of the club, and players are part of that valuation. So that's why we never shipped anyone out, which is absolutely shambolic, right?
Rubbish.
It is rubbish. So in a way, I'm up for to trim the squad. I'm up for to do a generational makeshift because we desperately need it, right? It's a makeover, we need it, but we also need to do a total makeover of the overall sporting facilities, the medical facilities, the scientific department is underwhelming. Underwhelming. You know, if we had a modern facilities, a modern medical staff, we would never had this type of muscle injuries and what we're seeing right now. So you can ping it back to the overall operations as well. And you can't really ping it on the manager, right? Manager's doing what my manager can, and he playing the way he can just to get results. So he's scraping by. And if you don't get backed, and I'm sorry, I'm not out, I'm not in. I just keeping my powder dry to say, like, prove me wrong, because I'm not a player FC. I'm a club man. I love my club. I don't love this team, and I want you to prove me wrong. But under this current establishment, what they're saying, it is frustrating. Because believe me, and I can feel Ten Hag's frustration as well as a fan.
But you know what's the best thing? You know why I still back this manager? Because it wasn't until the transfer window question that he mentioned and talked about injuries affecting the team, and when his players come back from injuries, then he will be all is good. And like an Adrian Barker is saying, Tottenham had injuries, but they have a style of play. Well, I could easily explain this. I mean, Tottenham only had like 4 injuries. They had 2 injuries, and the rest were suspensions. They're not all injuries; they're suspensions.
Yeah, but
It's just like
also,
Newcastle. But we
they
started the
don't.
league with 16 players injured, so it's different.
But also, like, pause that thought. Again, it's coming back to Arsenal, Spurs. They have a style of play because they're not individuals. They're not egoistic. That paid 300, 350. Well, like we have, and that is the difference, right? They have a cohesion basically based on that. We spoke about this earlier. Like, they're willing to play for each other no matter what. Some players in there, like, I don't want to name 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that's in the squad. They currently don't listen to what the manager says. So it's all about kicking around and getting paid, and that's it, right? They don't care if they make top 4. They don't care about winning. They care about the money, their brand, and that's the way it is, right? Football
100%.
has changed. Football has changed. People don't want to win anymore. They just want to get paid. If I get paid 350 a week, I'll be a millionaire by the age of 30, 35. That's the thing, right? Sim, what you're saying here. They turned him down 30 million for Meshit. Suck everyone who didn't get the deal done. Yeah, I didn't really understand that. Who's Meshit? Macshit. Oh, yeah, Macshit. Oh, sorry. YouTube algorithm, Macshit. Yeah, they turned down the 30 million, got blocked 100%. We could have sold them, but they turned down and said, no, we want more money. Anyway, guys, big up for you. Let's continue to the next story. Thank you, Sim. We're going to go into the comment section below, but the next story we're going to talk about is definitely, Roy Keane coming out to slam Rasmus Hojlund. But what about Marcus Rashford, guys? You all saw it, you all heard it. Roy Keane was saying in an interview afterwards that suggesting he was fuming with Rasmus Hojlund. Yeah, if he was a Manchester United manager after the striker missed a number of opportunities first half FA Cup figure, he will fire him or he will give him a hard time. But that's Roy Keane, But he didn't really mention about what about Rashford, right? What about Rashford? Rashford's getting paid 350 a week or 300 a week. Hojlund gets paid, 20 a week, right? Still young. Why are you criticizing a young player? 20-year-old that just got his laces on playing for Manchester United. He was never meant to lead the line. We were always supposed to have 2 strikers in.
100%.
And
And
Martial is injured. We have a number 11 that's out on loan. So basically, we don't have any other striker.
100%.
So
And why is
So
he? Yes, why is he going in on Hoyland? In one way, I totally agree with you, Mick. 100%. I'm like, I would not criticize Hoyland right now. He needs to. He's going to make mistakes.
he needs
We have to
confidence.
deal with it. Yeah, he needs the confidence. We need to just support him. This is the problem with fans. Fans have this. They say they're patient. Like even on they say they're patient with these youngsters. But if the youngster make a mistake, oh, he's rubbish. He's not good enough. Get in another player. Bring a next one. These players hear these things consistently. They have PR teams. They know
Yeah.
what people are saying about them online. Like, how are we gonna say that we support these players when we love this team when we don't even support the team? Like, this is what we have. We know we are skint for cash right now. We know the type of owners we have. It's unless we're living in a fairy tale or a dream world,
Mm.
it ain't got nothing coming to fix us. Some people saying they want Diego Simeone to fix us. It
Yeah.
took him 8 seasons before he could win a
Yeah.
trophy in his managerial career. And it's like, for me, I look at it like there's a little bit of pain right now, but everyone is out here talking about standards and standards and standards and style of play. When under Ollie, we had no style of play. We were definitely
We were
individual
freestyling.
FC.
We were freestyling.
It was
Individual FC.
moment FC under
Yeah,
Ollie.
go
So like,
express yourself. Just express yourself.
yeah,
That Madonna.
just do whatever and just score. Whatever
Yeah.
we win, we win.
No,
And it's
but
like a manager 1.5 seasons in, he hasn't been able to change the squad. And when I say change the squad, I mean the poster boy of this squad is not going. It should not be Marcus Rashford. It should be
Uh,
some new player that just came in 6 months ago. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
guys, please. I don't want to go more into it because we're gonna do a story about this show. We're gonna do a show around this tonight regarding Roy Keane and everyone's expectation. So I just want to keep it short and brief on this particular top story today. But it was just touching base, just to hear Mark's opinion. But later on, we're gonna do with Jarvis and everyone else. Gonna deep dive into more the analytical side of it. Why is it so? Right. So, guys, just to give you the heads up, we have a tight budget like Manchester United. I mean, a tight time scale budget. We have approximately 5 to 10 minutes left. So please, guys, if you're watching right now, there's 60 of you, smash that like button, please. Subscribe if you haven't, because we are heading to the next story. And the next story will be for me. It is Facundo Pellistri.
Oh,
Where is he going to
perfect.
go? Facundo Pellistri, PSV Eindhoven or Galaxy? Guys, this is very interesting. This is very interesting what's shaping up. What is the latest? I mean, we see that there's negotiations starting for, according to Fabrizio Romano, confirming that he is in for either PSV Eindhoven or LA Galaxy. Mark, what do you know about this one?
Well, I've heard the rumors that LA Galaxy, as well as PSV Eindhoven, have made an approach to Facundo Pellestri's agent, and they're in talks with the youngster. Of course, the youngster has no real ambition to leave Manchester United. He would like to prove himself at the club, as so stated. But he has not been getting that consistent game time that shows him the manager is confident in him so
No,
far.
hell no, he
However,
hasn't.
he has received more game time this season than he has last season already. So that's something that also is in the favor that maybe it's more about the using the time he gets wisely. So it's one of those things where I think his agent, doing what any agent does, listens to offers and see what's best for his client in terms of a monetary value or maybe even a career value. I think PSV Eindhoven might be decent. Let's just say if they was to take him on loan for
Yeah,
the rest
he
of the
says.
season, I think I would be okay with
Yeah,
that because
according to
they're
Fabrizio
in Europe.
Romano, he confirmed that PSV Eindhoven have ignited the pursuit of Uruguayan in hopes of acquiring his service for the remainder of the term, after which he would be returning back to Old Trafford and Manchester United. I favour that one.
And
I
that
favour that
means
one.
he's going to be playing in Europa League. I think that's going to be a lot of game time for him. He's going to probably find himself becoming a starter you know what I
Hmm.
mean? And I think that would help develop him, not only in the way Eric Ten Hag wants to play, but it would also develop him as a player because a
Yeah,
lot of the players need game time. We have to
yeah,
remember that, we can sit here and say all day long a player could get 2 or 3 games and then,
yeah,
okay, we should take them out,
yeah.
but it might
You're
not
just
help
gonna
them.
I'm just
Yeah.
gonna take it to the Jumbotron to just show you the tweet from Fabrizio Romano and say exclusive. And when Fabrizio speaks, he speaks with conviction to say PSV Eindhoven approach for Manchester United for a loan deal for Facundo Pellistri. Negotiations are starting. Understand also that LA Galaxy also want Pellistri with plan to submit a permanent transfer proposal soon up to Manchester and the player. I don't think he wants to go to LA Galaxy, and that would be a step down to play in the MLS. I think, like, at the end of the day, I love him. I thought, if you saw him in his cameo yesterday when he came in, I think it's changed the dynamics of the team, right? He can cross the ball. He's creative. Him and Ganacho build a future around that. Ganacho, Kobbie Mainoo, Pellistri, Hojlund, those attacking players provide more attacking width and threat than current overpaid squad members. I'm not going to mention names. We already talked about them. But, honest to God, if he goes to PSV Eindhoven, that's good for him because that means he's going to get game time. He's going to play in Europa League, what you say, you know. But at the end of the day, the decision has to be made if we're going to keep him or sell him because you can't loan out players all the time, right? You got to give them a chance.
Exactly. I mean, there are some players in the squad, in my perspective, they might not be good enough, but I think Palestri has the talent. But I think we have not given him a full chance because, in my honest opinion, like people say, we don't have a style of play. But if you ask yourselves honestly, could Rashford play in a Pep system? It would be a resounding no. How many players in our starting 11 could play in a Pep system? Not that many.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you know about the Ajax way, it has a similar style to that system in terms of theology. So you need to have a high footballing IQ. You need to read the game very well. You need to play with each other as a team. You need to pass and move. And we have a
That's it.
lot of players in this squad that a lot of fans have high hopes for, but they're not able to pass and move and play that type of
That's it,
football.
which leads us to the next story, basically, because yesterday's game, we're going to talk a little bit about yesterday's game, a little bit. We got potentially 4 minutes left of this show, but it leads to what you're saying here. Movement is key. Yesterday, I saw not a lot of movement, but what I saw in the cameo with the substitution, with the youngsters coming in, all of a sudden there was movement, there was dynamics. They were running for each other. And in matter of fact, the next top story, what I want to bring into the stage is Kobbie Mainoo, 100%. Kobbie Mainoo stats yesterday: 90% passing, 10 duels won, 100% dribbling. This game, this is a gem. This is a gem. And now we're talking about the youngsters, right? Kobbie Mainoo
I
is
wish
big
Evo
one.
was here today. Sorry to cut you, Mick. I just wish Evo was in the comments today, because I remember a few months ago I was telling Evo, this young guy, we're going to be talking about him so much. He's going to be man of the match in some games, and we're going to be talking about him. And Evo was like, no, you're just hyping him up. He's too young. But if you're young enough and you're good enough, you're good enough, you're old enough to play.
Yeah.
And that's been always a United motto, in my opinion.
Leeds United said, imagine Pellistri with Pep. Yeah, that would be a dangerous prospect. I mean, I would say, like I always say, he's got that low center of gravity. He can dribble, but he's a very creative player. He's the only one that could sort of take on the player, go to the byline and make a good cross, like a cutback. We don't see that anymore. We do cutbacks, but there's nobody on the receiving end to put it in. Like, we don't have any players, in that midfield. We don't play zonal discipline whatsoever. But this youngsters, what you're seeing, like Kobbie Mainoo here, if you see the stats, 90% passing accuracy, 10 duels won, 100% dribbling, it's absolutely amazing, right? Press
Fantastic.
resistant. Yeah. And then you look at the stats of Pellistri, the stats of Garnacho. Garnacho, according to me, was one of the man of the matches as well yesterday as well. He showed a little bit of a grit. He could take on, and therefore, like I'm saying, why are you you're playing this Antony dos Crapsos, whatever. The judge and jury's out for me. I was praising him when we signed him. 100% I was happy, but he's lightweight as a mosquito on a motorbike. It will fall off at any
Actually,
moment.
I mean, he hasn't had a good run this season, in my opinion. But in terms of press resistant players, he's at the top of the list for me
Yeah,
in terms of our attackers being press
yeah.
resistant.
But
But
people may
I
say, Mick,
would,
why are you negative? I'm just realistic. I'm just saying my opinion because, as I said, reiterate, I'm not a player FC. I want what's best for the team. For
so
my, yeah,
like, I look at football in a different way, in the sense that, for me, if a player is signed as a starting 11 player, he's always going to get 10 times more chances than a second string player, because
mm,
that player is a substitute. There's a level between substitute and starting player. You know what I mean? There's a little bit more confidence and a little bit more belief and faith and time you have to give to the
yeah,
players, because they're the ones who's supposed to be in those situations.
yeah.
I think he
Now,
hasn't done well, so fair enough. I
fair
think
enough.
Pellistri deserves more chances, but I also think there's some other players in the team that kind of kill Pellestri's game, because when Pellistri is playing, you need other players to be passing and moving along with him.
Mm,
You see
mm,
how he links up with Bruno and Garnacho, even
mm,
Hojlund when they're on the field, even Antony when he came on and played off the left and Antony was off the right in the game against West Ham. It's true he didn't score the goals. You know, Garnacho missed a couple of sitters. Rashford missed a couple of sitters. Antony could have had 4 assists in the game. It would have been amazing. But it's one of those things where we have to remember there's a lot of young players coming into a squad from different teams. Like Antony came from a different team last
okay.
season, and they're trying to get together and find each other, and it's going to take time.
Yeah, we're running into the end of the show. Big up Angie to say Hoyland scored four goals in Champions. Actually, I think it was 5 goals. But just want to round up the show to say that at the end of the day, it is like balancing your car, your wheels. If you have one wheel that is unbalanced, the whole steering wheel will be shaking. The car will be railing like this on the road. The squad needs to be balanced, and currently it's unbalanced, right? And you're right what you're saying there, Mark. At least these youngs provide movement. We don't have movement enough, right? If you're going to move smooth with the new tires on the curve, the car is going to follow when you're steering the wheel. But currently, right now, we're turning the wheel, but the car is not turning. We're going straight like this. if the curve, like always crashing. So that is the problem. That is the problem, according to my opinion. But big up everyone for tuning in. I would say that it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks. I'm not going to get excited. I'm going to keep my critical eyes on the current establishment, what they're trying to do. All we can do is wait for the ratification, or if there's going to be other twists in the stories. But right now, I feel sorry. I do feel frustrated. I can feel the manager's frustration, and I can feel the players' frustration, and I can feel that also the players are finally getting some, inspiration to understand that there is some development where the club is going in terms of the structure that Ineos might bring or might not bring. But this spreads, you know, what I'm trying to say, Mark. It's
It
been like
also brings uncertainty and the
uncertainty.
unknown.
But I would say that this season with the takeover has been affecting everyone. It's been bringing like uncertainty all the way from the CEO that got sacked. It's been a shambles of a club, right? It's been a toxic workplace, and players do feel it. Diego Dalot came out and spoke well about it, how positive the team is feeling with this new breath of optimization, and because they want to compete, they want to win, right?
100%.
So players do understand we need to get more fresh blood in the midfield. We know what's missing, right? So players
Our
do have
attack
an input.
sorely missed one player this season, and I'm just gonna leave it with this as my last comment of
Yes,
today.
I know what you're gonna say.
We miss, and like I would cry tears if that makes everyone forgive this guy, because I'm telling you, we miss him. If we bring this guy back, I'm telling you, our attack will click, because you have to, there are some players that lift the team around them. You know what I mean? Yeah, like Neil, some players are just not good enough. But there's some players in the team, especially with the young talent that we have coming through. You need a
Yeah,
player who can lift the team with him. And Mason Greenwood is that player for me.
right. Fantastic, guys. Thank you, Mark, for your contribute. Thank you, VR Room, for there. Guys, tune in later on tonight. This has been the main stories. We talked about Kobbie and Mainoo. We also talked about potentially bringing in, you know what I'm talking about, David Gill. Guys, tune in later on tonight. We're going to do another special story. We're going to talk more about the structure, Roy Keane, and whatever we need to do. Where is this club heading? Where is this team heading? Guys, before we continue, just want to wish you a good day, remaining on the day. Tune in later on. I think it's going to be around 9 o'clock UK time per standard. Jarvis, myself, I don't know who else is going to be, but I'm going to post the link later on. But don't forget to do one thing before you leave. Smash that like button right now. Subscribe if you haven't. Turn on the notification so you never miss a video. It's been Mick Ruby with Mark having our say, and hopefully we made you a better day. Have a good day. That's all, folks.
That's all, folks.
Thank you so much for stopping by and watching MUFC Realist TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on the socials.